guys, welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name is Alyssa. I am a 24-year-old first-time mom and my son Reese is 4 months old. And today I thought I'd go ahead and try and squeeze in this video while he's taking a nap. Just talking about different tips and tricks that Dakota and I implemented to get him to sleep 12 hours a night consistently since he was 7 weeks old. So hopefully this helps you out if you are a current parent struggling with the sleep process, or if you're an expecting parent that likes to plan ahead like myself. Hopefully this is helpful for you. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a sleep consultant, I'm just a mom trying to help out other people, so take what you want, leave what you want, and let's get right into it. My first tip for you is to pause this video, and then you're gonna go to your app store and you're going to download the Huckleberry app. I talk about this app in my Newborn Essentials. It was pivotal to our success as parents. That first month was really rough for us. I had a lot of anxiety, was really sleep deprived, couldn't remember what day of the week it was, and this kind of just helped ease my anxieties and helped me navigate transitioning into a mom. So basically it's an app that's completely free and it helps you track your child's sleep schedule. It helps you track how long ago they ate, how long they ate for, when they last had a diaper change. You can set reminders to remind you to feed in this many hours. It's amazing, and the fact that it's free makes it 10 times better. So get the Huckleberry app. My next tip for you to make your child a good sleeper is to keep your house noisy. From the day we brought Reese home, we made sure to follow through with this. It was never, oh, no, don't talk, the baby's sleeping, or don't vacuum, the baby's sleeping. We kept TVs on, conversations flowing, vacuums going, washer machines going, anything. We didn't adjust anything of our day-to-day lives because Reese was there. We wanted him to become accustomed to different sounds, different lights, different environments. So if we were downstairs cooking dinner, we had Reese right next to us in the dockatop, whether he was awake or asleep. We wanted him to become familiar with different sounds in different places, so that way he's not reliant on a certain sound or a certain location to sleep. So we did that since day one. And so if you haven't implemented that already, I highly recommend you start having your child nap with different sounds playing in the background. Or if you're a new parent, make sure you do it right from the get-go. So for the first month, we didn't really adhere to any sort of strict schedule. It was kind of just play it by ear. Once week 6 rolled around, that's when I started to kind of implement some changes. At that point, Reese was sleeping whenever he wanted during the day. Bedtime was around like 9 o'clock. He was waking up at 1 a.m. for feeds and 4 a.m. for feeds. So the first thing I did was implement and really focus on his wake windows. If you are not familiar with what a wake window is, it's basically just the time frame from when your child wakes up from one nap, let's say, is awake, and then goes down for their second nap. That obviously lengthens or shortens depending on how old your child is. There's a great course you can take. It's called Taking Care of Babies. I'll link her Instagram down below. I didn't actually take the course, but I have followed a lot of her tips that she shares on her Instagram for completely free. So definitely check that out, but you can always, of course, take her course as well. And she just pretty much educates and helps facilitate how to get your children to sleep. So I followed her system of the eat, play, sleep. And so basically, let's say Reese wakes up from a nap. The first thing he does is he gets a bottle, then he'll play for a bit, let's say tummy time or hang out in his swing, and then he goes down for a nap. It's crucial to understand because you want to be able to recognize cues of when your baby is getting tired. Since they were fed when they first woke up and you start to see them fussing, you can pretty much rule out they're not hungry because they've already eaten, so they're probably just getting tired. You don't want to associate needing to be fed to go to sleep. You want them to be able to self-soothe and put themselves to sleep, and Reese has been doing that since 6 weeks old. So for the eating portion, around 6 weeks, we talked to our pediatrician and we were finding that Reese enjoyed larger bottles less frequently. So a lot of times people are feeding, every 2 to 3 hours, let's say 4 ounces. We ended up feeding Reese 6-ounce bottles, which I know sounds crazy, do what you want, but every, 4-ish plus hours. And so now at 4 months old, we still are giving him 6-ounce bottles and he eats about every 3 to 4 hours between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Whatever you choose to feed your baby and the amount you choose to feed and how you choose to feed, the main goal is you want your child to be eating as much during the day. This is why the Huckleberry app is important. You want to be making sure that your child is eating on that 3-hour mark, 2-hour mark, 4-hour mark, whatever you decide works best for your child. You want to make sure that your child is getting as much nutrition and food during the day That way at nighttime, they're not waking up because they're hungry. So make sure that you're using your app and you're staying really regimented about how often and how much your child is eating. I think this is crucial. When we switched this and we started giving him 6-ounce bottles, I noticed his 1 a.m. feed dropped. Like that night, when we switched him to his bottles, he did not wake up for a 1 a.m. feed. So we were just waking up at that point for the 4 a.m. feed. Now that we had wake windows established, when we knew that we weren't going to let him nap longer than 2 hours. I had really been following the, oh, you never wake a sleeping baby. Like I had heard that so many times. And so Reese was going on like binges of sleep where he'd be like napping for like 4 hours during the day and then awake for 2 and then nap for 1 and then nap for it was so inconsistent, and he napped for really long stretches. And so I did it where his cutoff was 2 hours. So if he was still napping and the app times how long he was napping for, I would go up to his crib and wake him up. He was never crying or ever fussing for like, I need more sleep. Like he just was like, okay, we're up and I'm gonna get my bottle now. Like babies love bottles. So don't let your child sleep longer than 2 hours. The reason being is because you want them to, again, be getting most of their sleep at night. You don't want them to be loading up on it and then they're getting really broken. They're not super tired, faint sleep during the night, and that's why they're waking up. So make sure they're feeding a lot during the day, but not sleeping a lot during the day. So 2 hours, that's when we cut it off, and we still cut it off. I think that's crucial to why he sleeps so solid during the night, because he's not getting long stretches during the day. You'll then always want to make sure you're putting your baby down sleepy but awake. That's when the wake windows come into play. So when I kind of look at my Huckleberry app and I notice Reese has been up for, let's say, an hour and a half, and I start to notice he's getting a little bit fidgety and fussy and kind of cranky, I'm looking for those signs. Is he rubbing his eyes? Is he yawning? Is he getting really, really squirmy and wants to be held and doesn't want to do what he usually is happy doing? That's my cue where I go to put him down. I don't beat him to sleep because remember, we're following eat, play, sleep. I don't rock him to sleep. I don't have a special routine. It's just, okay, it's time to go to bed. So what I'll do is Reese began taking naps in his crib at 6 weeks. He was still sleeping in his bassinet at night, but during the day, he took his naps in his crib. That way he got accustomed to his room, a different location, and things like that. So I go upstairs, I turn down his sound machine, which I always recommend, I think is a good thing to have. I turned down his blinds. I don't have blackout curtains. I don't think a room should be totally black during the day. How does a child differentiate night and day if you make the room completely pitch black? So I just close the blinds so it's shaded in the room. I give, Reese a hug and a kiss. I lay him down on his back in the crib. I will offer him a binky and I'll put the binky in his mouth. Sometimes he takes it, sometimes he doesn't. If he spits it out, I'll put it in one more time before I go. If he spits it out, I leave it. I say love you and I shut the door. And then he's kind of left in there. He's obviously still awake, but he's tired. So he'll kind of toss and turn a little bit and kind of squirm around for a moment, and then he'll put himself to sleep. You have to keep in mind, when your baby is like stirring in your crib and they're not hysterically crying, don't go rushing in there to pick up your child. They are learning, how do I calm myself down? How do I put myself to sleep? You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, like I think as parents, that's a skill that we take for granted, but it's one of those things your child has to acquire. They have to learn, how do I self-soothe myself? So Reese will sometimes have his binky, sometimes he sucks on his hands, sometimes he just rubs his face till he falls asleep, sometimes he kicks. It depends on the day, but he's learning how to put himself to sleep. Now I know a lot of you are going to be like, okay, well what happens if he starts to cry or something like that? Granted, I think because I started this so young with Reese, he's never been like hysterical ever once 4 months later of when I put him down for a nap, because of the fact that he's so accustomed to, yeah, it's nap time, it's time to put myself down. But let's say he was really uncomfortable in there. I know he's not hungry and I know he's gotten a lot of energy out. So I'll go back in there and I can pretty much just assume he has like a rogue burp or something like that. I'll go in there. I'm not turning on lights. I'm not talking to him. I don't really make eye contact. I scoop him up. I pat him and burp him a couple times until he burps, and then put him right back down. Offer the binky, take it or don't, and I walk out. And then within a minute, he's asleep. So you need to realize that when your child is stirring and they're not hysterically crying, don't go rushing in there. Let them learn. Let them figure it out. And you'll find as the days go on, every nap is an accomplishment. Every time that they can do it 20 seconds sooner is an accomplishment, because they're learning how to do it. Now, it's not a problem. I pop Reese down. You know what I mean? And whether that's nap time or bedtime, and the fact that he can do that at anybody's house in any room is also, I think, super important. So when you are doing this with your child, make sure that you're not doing a specific routine every time. Don't pat their back 4 times, make them face a certain way in the crib, the light has to be like, no. Keep it similar, but not regimented. You want to make sure that they recognize, okay, yeah, I can put myself to sleep, I've practiced this, but mom didn't say I love you and pat my back twice before she did it. Mom didn't do this, because babies are learning routines. Children thrive off of routines. And so you want to just make sure at that point that when you're putting your child down sleepy but awake, you're doing it in a way that's familiar to them. They recognize what's going on, but if something is missed in the step, they aren't capable of doing it and it feels like they're totally out of place. I think because we're always at my parents' house or my sister's house, Reese will take a nap anywhere. We already talked about the noise and how he'll sleep through anything, but he doesn't need to be in his specific crib facing north to go to sleep. Like, he can sleep anywhere, and I think that's because we have practiced him learning how to self-soothe in the playpen. He was, can you sleep in a baby carrier when we're holding you? And I think those things are really, really important at a young age to kind of instill in your child. So for nap times, we follow that eat, play, sleep window. The only time we do not follow eat, play, sleep is at bedtime. At bedtime, it is play, eat, sleep. So Reese does get a bottle before he goes to bed at nighttime. He does not get fed to sleep. So he is getting a bottle, but I am not like feeding him where he's passed out and I'm putting an already asleep baby in bed. He is still sleepy but awake at that point. So every single night, he goes to bed at 7 o'clock. From 6 weeks old until now, 7 o'clock is his bedtime. Dakota and I drop what we're doing, time for bed. And so it's the same thing every night. Reese does get a bath every single night. If you don't want to do that, that's your choice, but we do. We think that it works well for our routine. We use organic soap, so it's nice and good for his skin. But at 7 o'clock, I undress Reese, Dakota runs his bath, Dakota bathes him, Dakota then puts him in his pajamas, and I get his last feeding ready for the night. And so I will feed him, and then at that point, it's right around 7:30 by the time I finish feeding him. He's definitely, eyes are getting heavy, he's clearly getting tired. I give him a couple burps, I lay him down in his crib, the same thing that I do during the day, lights off, sound machine on, offer the binky, take it or don't, it's whatever you want, and then I leave. And he will self-soothe himself to sleep, and he sleeps all night long. Now, the reason I feed him right before bed is because I want him to have the longest stretch of sleep possible at nighttime with the most food in his belly. If I did the eat, play, sleep at 5 o'clock, that would be going from 5 in the afternoon until 7:30 in the morning without food, and I just think that that would be a bit long of a stretch. So 7:30 he goes to bed, and he typically starts stirring around 7:20, 7:30 in the morning every single day. Something to note, when Reese started sleeping through the night at 6 weeks, we noticed that his diapers that he was wearing weren't holding in the pee because he was sleeping for such a long stretch. And I'm having a video come out because I have tried so many different diapers to deal with overnight leakings, blowouts, so make sure you subscribe if that's something you're kind of interested in. But make sure you get a good overnight diaper. Even if your child isn't officially sleeping through the night and you can say, hurrah, like you're just starting to implement this, make sure you put a good overnight diaper, because I was noticing when we were first trying it and Reese was starting to sleep, like let's say he would wake up at like 5:30 instead of 4, it was because he had peed through his diaper. Reese was wearing, I think, size 2 diapers when we started, and I don't think they make size 2 diapers, but I just put him in a size 3 and it worked out fine because it held the pee and it wasn't like it was too loose for poop, to be honest. And so just make sure, because you don't want them to wake up after a great night of sleep and the only reason they're waking up is because they're cold, because of their pee. Just food for thought. Something else to note too that I think has also been important is we talked about routine and we talked about scheduled, but we talked about not being regimented with that. And what I mean is Reese is very accustomed to, I could totally switch up and do bath, and Dakota could do a bottle feed at nighttime and Reese would still sleep throughout the night. I could do, my sister does it. Reese does not need a certain person in a certain order in order to go to bed for naps or at nighttime. I think that's important. I recommend not getting into the habit of only having one person feed that baby to bed, because you want them to be aware of, yeah, I can take take a bottle from anybody and still go to sleep. I don't need mom to give it, because we're trying to disassociate needing something specific in order to go to sleep. It's all familiar. We recognize that it's time for bed, but we don't require it to go to bed, if that makes sense. All right, guys, that pretty much does it. I hope this wasn't too fast and too all over the place. I was just trying to make it quick and easy, because clearly if you're watching this, there's a good chance you're sleep deprived and you don't have time for a 30-minute video. But as always, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help my channel. If you have any tips or tricks or things that work for you, make sure to put it in the comments below to help out another parent. Or if you have any questions and maybe I can help you out, don't be afraid to ask. Thank you so much, guys. I will see you in the next video. Bye.